Hi, this is Josh Davy, Livestock and Range Advisor in Tehama, Glenn, and Colusa Counties and Director of Extension in Tehama County. This presentation is put together by the University of California Cooperative Extension, sponsored by WSARE. I want to thank Jeff Stackhouse and Lania Quinn Davidson for their leadership in putting this set of educational materials together. Particularly, this presentation covers RxFire and its use in the control of barb goatgrass. Barb goatgrass, you can see on the left, is compared to several other common annual rangeland plants. Next to it is a close relative jointed goatgrass, in which case, for all intents and purposes, control methods can be seen as very similar between the two plants as well as their phenological development. This is hair barley all the way to the right, often called foxtail, which is much earlier maturing than barb goatgrass, or the plant next to it, Medusa head, in which oftentimes barb goatgrass is mistaken for. However, barb goatgrass is much later maturing, often 2 to 3 weeks, and has longer awns. So in this presentation, our focus is on barb goatgrass. Barb goatgrass germinates throughout the season after the first rains. This is actually important, and we'll get to the reason for that importance in that it germinates through the year rather than simply in the fall as we move on to control measures. The plant remains vegetative through much of the growing season until maturing late in the spring, often even close to early summer, much later than most other grasses. This is a plant at the end of its vegetative state as it's becoming to be reproductive. Here it doesn't look nearly as bad as it turns out to be, but production is very small in the vegetative state in terms of it doesn't produce much for biomass, and the quality that is produced is very low. This photo gives you a pretty good idea of why control is necessary. There's very little benefit to a plant with these kind of awns, whether it's for livestock, wildlife, or restoration of grounds into desirable species. As I mentioned before, the plant matures much later than most all other annuals. In this photo, you can see within the red lines is a patch of barb goatgrass that's still green as compared to all other vegetation at the end of May that's already dried off. A close-up photo shows that other vegetation where the seeds have actually already matured and shattered out of the plant. In this barb goatgrass plant, the stem is still green. The seed is not even finished viability within the spikelet, and that's not even the worst part of control of this plant. Besides the awns, you can see that the plant is broken up into 4 to 5 different segments or spikelets. The top 2 spikelets have 1 seed. The bottom 2 have 2 seeds, in which one of them is actually dormant. So within those 2 bottom spikelets, 1 seed is larger and germinates the fall after it has been produced. So seed production occurs in late spring and they germinate the next fall. That large seed will germinate the following fall. However, a smaller seed produced within those 2 spikelets at the bottom actually will not germinate until 2 years after production. That translates into any control measure will require 2 years of control to actually see any reduction in the population of barb goatgrass. Fall identification of the plant yields actually a surprising feature in that the plant breaks off completely from the stem in late summer as compared to Medusa head that you can see in my right hand where the seeds have fallen, but overall it's still attached to the spikelet. The actual seeds of barb goatgrass, again, 2 joints toward the bottom that have 2 seeds and 2 joints toward the top that have 1 seed, will germinate actually within those spikelets. These joints will break in the fall before they actually, before germination occurs. This gives you an idea of what the stalks actually look like. Here you can see that the stalks of the seed spikelets have actually fallen off the stalks, resembling a wheat field that's been harvested. Ironic, seeing as barb goatgrass is actually in the family of Gillops, which is a relative of wheat. Here you can see one of the spikelets that's actually fallen off the plant and ready to germinate following fall rains. So burning, in terms of control for barb goatgrass, this is actually a prescribed burn in Tehama County looking at controlling barb goatgrass on annual rangeland. Timing is actually very critical in terms of having successful control of barb goatgrass because seeds need to be burned while they're still on the plant before that spikelet falls off. Yet we still need to have enough fuel to carry the fire. Below you can see a photo in May where most of the goatgrass is actually still green Although you may be able to carry a fire in the other vegetation, the goatgrass may not actually burn hot enough to affect the seeds. A better timing is the photo above on top, in which case this happened in June is actually hot enough to be able to burn the spikelets and keep germination from occurring, or at least viable seed production for the following year. One thing to note, that a single burn will not control barb goatgrass, because the seeds previously produced that are laying on the soil surface will not be affected by the fire. Only the seeds that remain on the plant will be affected. This is important in terms of thinking also of timing of the burn, and that a fall burn would not be successful in controlling barb goatgrass, where a single spring burn would be successful in controlling barb goatgrass seed production and take out that first larger seed that germinated. It must be noted that the year after the burn, that smaller seed will germinate. So you can actually see a higher population of barb goatgrass in year 2, and follow-up control is very necessary. I put this slide in because this is a common occurrence one on a burn that was actually timed very well and leaves concern after it, because as you can see, most of the stalks, there's some in here, have been fully burned, but oftentimes you'll see spikelets with char marks on them and wonder whether the seed within them is very viable, or was the burn successful in limiting seed production. To test that, I actually collected seeds and germ tested in both the area where the burn did not occur, as well as the area where the burn did occur. Again, notice all the spikelets laying on top of the soil surface that were within the stalk on the plant still on this properly timed burn. The results of germ testing showed that properly timed burn can eliminate germination. In this case, germination in the unburned area was 60% compared to 0% in the area that was burned. Thus, the single year is very promising at eliminating that seed production of barb goatgrass, but remember, a second year must occur. I mentioned before that the plant matures throughout the year. In cases where a chemical control will be necessary because there isn't enough fuel to carry a fire in the second year, one of your only available options on grazed rangelands is glyphosate or Roundup. The reason I bring up the staggered germination throughout the year is that an application of glyphosate would need to occur late in the season, late spring on year 2. That's because glyphosate has no residual activity. It's very good at controlling the plants that have already germinated, but will not prevent germination of plants after the spray event occurs. Envoy or clethodim is another option as a grass-selective herbicide, but is not registered for grazed rangelands. So contact an ag commissioner to find out the applicability of clethodim if broadleaf weed control is not necessary or desired, as all plants would be controlled with glyphosate, but only grass plants with clethodim. Spraying is a cost-effective method of controlling small patches of goatgrass, but please keep in mind again that 2 spring herbicide control measures would be necessary to adequately eliminate both the large and the smaller seed. It's often asked if grazing or mowing can be used as tools to control barb goatgrass. Mowing can be successful, but it has to be understood that some plants will be missed by those that have been bent over, those that mature below mower height, or some that have actually been grazed earlier and caused tillering that further makes the plant head out below the mower height. In terrain that isn't too rocky where the threat of a wildfire is possible, mowing can be successful, and this picture shows the optimal timing for mowing. Note that the stem on this plant is actually turned brown, yet the seed head is still green. At this point, the seed is not mature, and mowing will limit the plant's ability to make seed. However, if this seed head or these spikelets show red in color, it's too late, and they will produce seed even after they're mowed. As of yet, we haven't found research or method in terms of research where grazing has been shown as a tool to be able to lessen barb goatgrass. This is because the plant is actually adapted for grazing avoidance. Structuring and condensing enough livestock in a certain area to be able to impact the entire population is difficult. And it's even further difficult to be able to do it for 2 years in a row, as is necessary for any kind of goatgrass reduction. It has shown in some attempts for studies that have attempted to look at grazing as a control method that if done improperly, it can actually increase barb goatgrass density because it eliminates desirable vegetation and opens the competitive door for even more goatgrass to proliferate. That said, I do not want to make the point that grazing causes barbed goatgrass, as heavy infestations of barbed goatgrass can be found in both grazed and non-grazed rangelands. In fact, barbed goatgrass even seems to be able to survive in serpentine or high magnesium soils where most other grasses are not adapted. At the current time, our only full prevention or control methods for barbed goatgrass involve either burning for 2 years or a chemical control for 2 years. Seeing the limited amount of tools for controlling this plant points out the necessity for early detection and control, as it is much easier to control a small population as compared to a large population. I hope that this presentation has given you a better understanding of how fire can help in the control of barbed goatgrass, one of the worst rangeland weeds in California. If you have any further questions, please feel free to call or email me at the contact information on your screen, as well as Jeff Stackhouse or Lania Quinn Davidson with the University of California Cooperative Extension. Thank you.